Hello, everybody! In today's video, we are going to talk about the latest news that's coming out of the football world. We are now in the last few hours of deadline day, and there's still time for teams to complete some deals. And it looks like Leeds United may have made their first breakthrough in terms of trying to sign a new right winger. They've been linked with quite a few players over the past few weeks, and it looks like they're actually going to go for a Premier League experienced man who is very familiar with playing at the highest level. So let's get into the details of this deal, and I will give you all the latest updates. Okay, so let's start by talking about who this player is that Leeds United are supposedly trying to sign. It is Harry Wilson from... Now, I mentioned at the start of the video that he is Premier League experienced. He came through the youth ranks at Liverpool. He did not actually make any appearances for the first team. He was highly rated as a young player. He went on loan to a number of different clubs, including Hull City, Derby County, where he had 2 separate spells under Frank Lampard, and then also to Bournemouth. And he was part of the Bournemouth team that got relegated from the Premier League back in the 2020-2021 season. But his performances whilst at Bournemouth, they earned him a permanent move to Fulham. And since he's been at Fulham, he's been a key player for them. In fact, when you look at the statistics for the last season, he actually made more key passes than players like Kevin De Bruyne, Mohamed Salah, and even playmakers such as Bruno. So he's an attacking threat, can create chances, and he's also got a really good goals record. In 150 games for Fulham, he's managed to score 25 times, which is a really impressive statistic. And he's also broken into the Wales squad. He's currently got 62 caps, and he was involved in the World Cup last year, the European Championship back in 2021, so he's a very important player for Wales as well. Now, when you consider all those facts about his career so far, it's easy to see why Leeds United would want to bring him to the club, because he's someone who is going to be able to slot straight into the Premier League. He's proven that he can perform at this level. He knows the demands of the Premier League, and he'll be able to come in immediately and add something different to the Leeds squad. Right now, Leeds are very much relying on young players such as Wilfried Gnonto, Jack Harrison, and even Dan James to try and produce the goods in the final third. But Wilson's experience, his end product, and his creativity, it's something that will help improve the team as a whole. The only question mark against his name is that he hasn't actually played a huge amount of football this season. He's made to substitute appearances, but he's not really been involved in the matchday squad. Now, this is down to the fact that Fulham have brought in a lot of new players, especially in the forward positions. One of those players is the young man that I mentioned earlier, Tyrique George. He was at Chelsea. Fulham paid £22 million to bring him to the club, and he's now going to be competing with the likes of Harry Wilson, Maynard Solomon, and also Willian for places in the starting lineup. It means that Wilson is going to be frustrated if he stays at Fulham and doesn't get regular football. And it seems like Leeds United have taken advantage of that, and they've made an offer to try and sign him on loan for the rest of the season. It's believed that Leeds had a bid rejected for Wilson earlier in the week. The discussions are still ongoing between the two clubs, and Leeds are hopeful that they can reach an agreement before the deadline. Now, this deal might not necessarily be straightforward, though, because if you think about it, Fulham are in a strong position. They've sold one of their attacking players, and they haven't actually replaced him yet. So if they allow Harry Wilson to leave, it leaves them a bit short. Now, there is always the option of bringing in another player. They've got the money from the sale of George to potentially But with the transfer window shut in England and players reluctant to leave their current clubs, unless it's for a really big fee, it's going to be difficult for Fulham to find a replacement for Wilson. Therefore, they have the upper hand in any negotiations with Leeds, and they can demand whatever they want, whether that's a higher loan fee or even an obligation to buy. For Leeds United, this is a risk worth taking. If Wilson does come in, he's going to be a key player for them. He can play across the front line. He can play on either wing, and he can even play as a number 10 if needed. But the only downside to it is that if he doesn't feature regularly for Fulham, he might be a bit rusty. He might take a few weeks to get up to speed and then hit the ground running. But in terms of his quality, his end product, and his ability, he's definitely good enough to play for Leeds United. Another thing I should mention is that Wilson has been talking about his contract situation, and he said that he wants to stay at Fulham until 2024, which is when his current deal expires. However, He also said that he would be open to leaving on loan if it was the best option for all parties. And this is something that has given Leeds United a glimmer of hope that they can pull off this deal. The manager, Daniel Farke, he's been speaking about the possibility of signing a new player before the deadline, and he said, quote, "I think we are still looking. We never give up! There are still a couple of things at the outfields we would like to do, but it needs to be the right thing. We have to make sure we don't destabilize the group with the wrong new signing. We need to make sure it's the right thing for the future." So it sounds like he is interested in bringing in another attacking player, although he did say that it needs to be the right fit. What do I think is going to happen with this deal? I think Leeds are going to sign Harry Wilson. He's the type of player that they need, and with just hours left in the transfer window, I think they've realized that they're not going to be able to find anyone better at this late stage. Of course, you never know. Things can change. But considering the fact that Wilson has been pushing for a move away from Fulham, and they've also rejected an offer from Leeds, I think this deal is going to get done. However, I do think that Fulham have the upper hand in terms of negotiations. They're in a strong position because they've just sold a player and they haven't replaced him. If they were to let Wilson leave as well, it would leave them a bit short. So I think they're going to hold out for a reasonable fee. I don't think they're going to let him go for cheap because they know that Leeds desperately need a new player. If you are a Leeds fan, how do you feel about this potential deal? Is Harry Wilson someone who you think can make a difference to your team this season? Or do you think that Leeds should focus on other areas of the pitch, such as the central midfield? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, then please hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with everything that's happening in the world of football. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.